Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Buzzard's Nest podcast. I'm Buzz, your host, and this will be episode 3. And before we start into our subject, I'd like to do a little quote from Kevin Smith, actor and director of Clerks. If you're busy fucking worrying about what everyone else is accomplishing, you will never accomplish anything yourself. Those are words to live by, especially with starting this out. This will be my first podcast that I've used notes from. It didn't come with everything off the top of my head. So bear with me. You might hear a little bit of this going. So this episode is going to be called Centralia, PA, the town that still burns. Alright, Centralia, Pennsylvania is up in central Pennsylvania. This town, I shouldn't even say town, it's a borough, which was formed in, see, we start with the notes already. The town was completely based pretty much on coal mining. Again, I said town, it should be borough. The first 2 mines were opened in 1856. By 1863, 5 mines had been opened. In 1865, the first railroad came through town to haul the coal and the coke from the coke mines out to consumers. Now, it was thought and theorized by the size and dimension that there was enough coal in these mines to supply the United States for years. But a small tragedy happened in the year 1962. See, back in the old days, they used to take your township garbage and put it into a landfill dump. Landfill dump was supposed to be created with slate stone. At the very bottom of the pit, your garbage thrown on, it burned, and then they would cover that with clay. Then dump the new garbage on top, burned. The cycle continued. Supposedly, and this is what everybody's guessing, that the slate at the bottom of the dump wasn't thick enough, and then a few of the layers of clay were missing out of each layer of garbage, amounting to more heat. Now, on May 27th, 1962, firefighters, as they did in the past, set the dump on fire and let it burn for some time. Unlike in previous years, however, the fire was never fully extinguished. An unsealed opening in the pit allowed the fire to enter a labyrinth of abandoned coal mines beneath Centralia. Now, there's 2 versions of this. That one, the one that the actual garbage pit was too close to the coal mine air shaft, which allowed hot coals and embers to blow into the mine shaft. And another one about a trash hauler dumping hot ash from coal burners into the pit to get rid of it. So either way, a large fire was started. Now, this was 1962. The residents thought, that little bit of coal is going to burn off. It's not going to be anything major. It's just going to stop. But in 1979, the locals became aware of how bad the problem really was, because a gas station owner, who was then the mayor, John Connington, inserted a dipstick in one of his underground tanks to check to see if they were full. When he pulled out the dipstick was very hot. So he grabbed a thermometer, a string, and dropped it down to his tank. When he pulled that thermometer back up, his tanks were reading 172 degrees. The fire had already been under the burrow and was slowly eating its way through everything. Now keep in mind, this is 1979, when the local officials are finally getting an understanding that there's a problem. But they didn't report it to the state, and the state didn't find out until 1981. And the only reason they did was because a 12-year-old boy was playing in his backyard with a friend when the ground suddenly opened up beneath him. The hole was 4 foot round by 150 feet deep. The only thing that saved that boy was that he was out playing with his friend. His friend was able to grab him, pull him back up. Now, when the DEP came out with the government officials to look at this whole, are these kids telling the truth? Was this from the mine burning? They were taking air readings, because if there was something burning, you're going to get carbon monoxide. The carbon monoxide or dioxide? Let me double check myself. Don't want to give anybody false information. Carbon monoxide. The amount of carbon monoxide coming out of that coal would have killed the boys within 10 minutes. That's how lethal it was. So again, we look back, 1981, that's when our federal government finds out about it. But again, nothing is really done until 1992. Now, I'm not saying if this was the right way to go, the wrong way to go, but in 1992, Pennsylvania Governor Bob Casey invoked eminent domain on the entire borough of Centralia. Every house, every person was to be moved out. Some saying in the first couple waves that their houses were bought for pennies on the dollar, and they were moved out of there. A lot of the old-time residents actually fought the state and won the ability to stay there. The ground rules of it was the houses could not be sold, the houses could not be left in a will. Now, they did get paid for their house once they turned it back over to the state, but it was far, far less than market value at the time that they would leave. The town itself, now I did visit here. The town itself, imagine your own housing plan with all the houses gone, just roads, Mother Nature taking over, and that's about all you see except for what was left, 10 houses left. Now, that's all there really is of the borough itself. There is a stretch of Route 61 which runs through town, which is also condemned. It's a 0.7 miles worth of highway that from the main vein or the main area of coal is running right underneath the highway, and it's superheating. There were reports from back in the 80s of it would snow up there, but no snow was laying on the ground, especially where the highway was. The highway would actually bubble up, crack, warp itself, and they tried paving it because it did go down to another town. Every time they paved it, it would just bubble up again, crack, and it would just be giant layers of asphalt. This area is now condemned and blocked off, but is also known as the Graffiti Highway. When I went, there was a lot of graffiti everywhere on it. Pictures from this year that I seen on YouTube, that it's almost every square inch is covered. Along with that, as of this year, the state police and the state of Pennsylvania are now pushing to charge people with trespassers on that condemned highway. In February, someone had posted on Facebook they wanted to have a Barbie Jeep race down that 0.7 miles. Now, the Barbie Jeep I'm talking about is the one you buy at Toys R Us or something, the battery operated one the kids ride on. And the RSVPs they got on that Facebook page was reaching 1,000 until they had to shut it down. The DEP and PennDOT do not want you on that road because it's been burning the coal underneath it for so long that any moment they're thinking it's, instead of bubbling up, it's going to cave in. And it's going to be a large, massive cave in. And they don't want anybody on it. So they're really pushing the trespassers now. They're charging a lot of people with trespassers. On YouTube, I seen 2 had started a video that 10 of them had got busted and charged with trespassing. In Centralia, there is still people living in there. I think I told you 10 houses left, 10 people, 10 families. One of them had left with their family, so I think it's down to 9 now houses left. And the only other thing standing on the south side of the borough, where supposedly the coal mines don't reach, is the St. Mary's Church. Let me double check that name. Yes, the St. Mary's Church still stands, and it still has services every Sunday. The place still does have a fire department. It's everybody from another town. It only has 1 fire truck, and the truck is said to be 35 years old. I did see it. I don't know the ages of trucks. It looked older, but supposedly it's 35 years old, but it has not been used as far as I know, except for like a brush fire here and there. No police force. It's all state police now because it's under eminent domain. But it has become a YouTube. That's why I got the idea to go up and see it, was from YouTube. All these videos, I wanted to see it for myself. It is interesting. It is something I did off my bucket list. The cemeteries, the four or five of them, are immaculate shape. They are interesting. I didn't see, like some of the people say in a video, you see steam. I went up when it was a chilly day. I had a sweatshirt on, I remember that, and jeans. I didn't see any steam anywhere. But I did see they have carbon monoxide sensors in the ground, and they're on a big post. They're locked up. Somebody's supposed to check them every once in a while from the state. There is steam vent gaps, but I see nothing coming out of them. But I didn't want to get too close. I didn't want to be into carbon monoxide. If from watching the YouTube videos and everything else you think, I want to go up and visit, don't. There's a real big push for trespassing right now. If you want to see it, look at all the old videos from Centralia on YouTube. It's the best thing you could do. You can see it from several years ago up to present day. Some people got good aerial shots on there. It's better than going, trust me. And there is, on May 5th this year, opened up a new documentary that I gotta look up for you. The documentary is called Centralia, Pennsylvania's Lost Town. And it did already show, but it is coming to Pittsburgh August 12th and 13th at the Pittsburgh Row House Cinema. Tickets are $10. A portion of these sales will go to the Centralia Legion Post 608 in Wilburton. So I'm actually interested to go see that. Hey guys, I took a little break from that last cut just to review some stuff on YouTube that I was watching. One of the good documentaries on there is called Centralia, PA, The Town That Was. It's an hour and 11 minutes long, and it deals with one of the residents that still lives there. Well, this was back in 2007. And they take this resident around. He shows them places where stuff used to be, goes over some of the facts of the area at the present day. This guy takes care of everything at that time in that town. He still hangs up the Christmas lights on the poles, decorates Christmas trees, takes care of the benches. He's the guy that goes out and mows the grass at all the cemeteries and takes care of them. Since Centralia has no work industry, he drives from there to Harrisburg every day to work. And that, he said, it's an hour commute one way just so he can remain in the town he grew up in. That's crazy to me, but I guess to have no neighbors and be somewhere you love, that's what you'll do. Also, going through some of the old videos, there is an Action Comics number 588. Now this appeals to the comic geek in me. It's a Superman comic, and one of the subplots in the comic is that Superman has to save a burning town called Coal Town. And he puts out the fire there that's been burning underground. So that's pretty interesting to me. There are other YouTube videos on there. Someone had collected up all the news reports from television and combined them into one little documentary on it, which was interesting. But when I got up out of my chair to come and start podcasting again, the guy that's on there now is trying to link the fires of I'm having trouble saying that, Centralia, to the sighting of UFOs in the area. People are trying for anything. Now, like I spoke over earlier, I didn't see much smoke or steam coming up out of the grounds, but this old documentary is in the prime height of the fire. And the smoke and it pretty much settled like a fog was everywhere. And the Route 61, they do show videos of that, and it was still open at the time. Another video that went on with the news reports showed people pulling off of Route 61 to look at the hillsides because gaps were opening up, and it looked just like the inside of a foundry, bright red inside those holes. People were pulling over to look at them, and they were showing how the the burning was working its way under that highway more, and the new asphalt was melting away. So it's really interesting to look at that old stuff. It's not like that now, trust me. Especially with the no trespassing going on now, and it's being highly enforced. Another thing I found out that in 2007 there were 10 houses left in Centralia, but now it's down to 9. I think it said 10 people, but there are some of them are families and some of them are single family homes. So it's the populace has changed. All right, that's where I'm going to end that story off at. I think I've recorded a good bit on that. If you have any questions on it, feel free to get me at the email address Buzzard2721, BUZZARD 2721 at gmail.com. You can find our Facebook page. You can contact me there and send a message if you want some more information. I'll even take suggestions, compliments, changes you'd like to see. And the next podcast, I've already have a name for it. I don't know what my subject's going to be, but I think this name is going to be my once a month, and that's going to be called Grumpy Old Man, where I go from being a little bit civil to talking about what really ticks me off. I figured since it's a free podcast, I think I'm allowed to voice my opinion, and I hope I don't offend anybody. But if I do, so sorry. And up and coming, we are going to be doing interviews with small business owners. I got one planned out. I still have to contact them with a beginning questionnaire and stuff. But it should be really interesting, especially for the local community people, and a bit of free advertisement for a business. So we'll see how that goes and see if it gets interesting or not. This is Buzz from Buzzard's podcast, and I hope you have a great week. We'll be talking to you soon.